took over 1,000 men, women, and children. That's all. They're mine now. I'm like a vampire, except my teeth are yellow. Fangy boys, you know what they are, you've seen them and heard of them. They're one of the oldest tropes in humankind when it comes to monster mythology. And I don't think there's a single mythos amongst human civilization that doesn't have a mention of a vampire-like creature, even before the main iteration of Dracula. They're a huge deal, and can be incredibly profitable if marketed towards the right audience. But the issue that comes with marketing things to an audience is that audience gets ideas of their own. And some of those ideas that they have kind of stray away from the norm, because we have people in New Orleans who cosplay to the extreme and consider themselves human-like vampires.
When I first saw that he was a vampire, it's very interesting. I was like, okay, didn't know there was actual proper real vampires out there. I've always hoped there was. And to finally meet one was actually very interesting, to finally get to know what it really is and everything.
Delusions of grandeur, or maybe they're just trying to escape from their own reality. There is a subgroup of people alive who like to cosplay as vampires. From what I can gather, the majority of them do not actually believe they are real vampires, but I'm positive there's always a slim margin of people who really think they are. But I want to look at an article together on one of those people. As I already mentioned, New Orleans, this article focuses on the vampire court leader, a man by the name of Maven Law. When Maven Law was being fitted for his first set of fangs, a switch within him flipped on. Something just came to the surface and everything felt right for once in my life, he said. I had this notion that there was more to it than just pointy teeth. He didn't know what to call the feeling at the time, or that it would lead him from New York to New Orleans. But he knows now that it was an awakening, his first taste of life as a vampire. Law found belonging in New Orleans and never left. Now a crafter of bespoke acrylic fangs himself, he's risen up the reluctantly accepted role of king of Big Easy's vampire court. A court of vampires is a collection of people who get together and discuss vampire-related topics. Not for nothing, but this is just my observation. You know how like flat earthers all get together and talk about flat earther things? And to the outside looking in, it kind of just seems like a thinly veiled ploy to make friends and create a subgroup. It's a similar situation, except these courts seem unbelievably horny. I would love to know why every single vampire has to be leather-bound. Dude, are there no vampires from like the 2000s listening to Radiohead and Linkin Park? I wouldn't want to join a vampire clan if I walked in on a building with this.
I see you have found us, Mr. Walkton.
Obviously I found you, but if you walk down the strip, you can smell this room from miles away.
That is the stench of our true desire.
Whatever, yeah.
Now that you have found us, you must join.
I really don't think I want to.
Why not? We can give you eternal life.
Well, first of all, it smells like what I imagine my dad's nuts smell like. And second of all, I don't want to be wearing this whole leathery getup like you guys.
You misunderstand. It's so we can entice our prey in. Here, try a piece.
Dude, it's dripping! Being a part of a vampire court of New Orleans is all about all of us coming up together. A victory for one person is a victory for all of us, he said. We're all just kind of sink or swim together. Human vampires live, and they're fairly far from the fictional creatures we recognize. Their interpretations of vampirism vary wildly. Many of them feed off energy or sexual encounters. Told you, they're all horny! But feeding habits and fangs are just the trappings of a community that is diverse as it is misunderstood by non-vampires. You may not even know they're a vampire at all. At least not if you're searching for the stereotypical tip-offs. There are no restrictions for self-identifying vampires. They're not bound to nocturnal life or required to worship fictional vampires. The vampires are in essence people from different backgrounds with a common goal, belonging, who found community with their fellow vampires. Yeah, see, they're no different from like the furries, although it's a toss-up which one of them smells worse. As on the one hand, like I said, leather-bound clad, dancing and grinding in nightclubs going dun 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 dun. And on the other hand, it's a bunch of people in suits made entirely of synthetic fuzz. I like to harken on that point that most of these people in these strange fringe communities aren't actually weirdos. They just kind of want friends, dude. And, you know, it's fair enough. If you're lonely enough, I could see myself doing something weird. Human vampires make accessible the infinite potential that exists for exposing and unfixing the repressive and oppressive categories out of which marginalization is born. Okay, let's stop. Being part of a vampire club is not the same as being a part of an oppressed group, bro. Like, I don't think a bunch of people in capes and fangs should pull up in an SUV to like a BLM protest. We demand equal rights! We demand equal rights!
Yes, and as do we, humans.
Do you guys smell something? CNN spoke to two giants of their respective communities, Law of New Orleans and Myrtitus, I butchered that, the CEO of the Atlanta Vampire Alliance, about their lives, their joys, and the misconceptions about vampirism they'd like to permanently put to rest. Nice pun. Firstly, yes, a few modern day vampires consume blood, often from consenting donors, typically loved ones or partners in small amounts. Yeah, I knew that was gonna be a given. You gotta get into the role. You know, if I'm playing a gay man, I'm gonna suck a few penises. Doesn't make me gay. Just because my wife comes and says that movie was 3 years ago. There might be a sequel, Marissa. But many abstain from or condemn that practice, and instead find sustenance in sexual encounters or other experiences, from which they can derive energy. Law is among them. Zero chance Law has not sucked blood. Absolutely no way. I don't believe you. Liar. There has been dribbles of human essence in that little chin strap. God strike me down if I'm wrong. When strangers feign fear and ask Law if he'll drink their blood, he quips, "No, that's called murder. But I'll chew into a T-bone steak all the same." While the uninitiated are usually most interested in feeding habits, Law said that's hardly what matters to vampires. He compared asking a vampire about their feeding habits to asking a non-vampire whether they eat cold cuts. That's not a one-to-one metaphor, bro. I don't really get it. The correlation doesn't make sense to me. Many vampires don't fit the archetype Bram Stoker E.T. popularized. Who's Bram Stoker? Oh, the guy who wrote Dracula. Dick ass name though. I'm saying it's sick because he's had sex. Yeah. These are people who often work day jobs. Law is also a graphic designer, DJ, and juror. Of course he is. I have never seen a man who screams DJ more in my life. It's kind of funny though. You gotta get a giggle out of that. Hey Laura, we're heading out to the bar after work. Do you want to join us?
No, the night is young.
Browning said he found that members of vampire communities were mostly drawn to each other for social elements and not their affinity for vampire media. Yeah, it's just a club, dude. I'm pretty sure they probably just watch football and take the fangs out when they're all hanging out. I wouldn't even call them vampire fans at all, merely people with a shared history from their adolescence, an innate need for blood or energy, and a shared need to find others like themselves who are accepting. The enduring popularity of fictional vampires mean that Mertice and others must constantly clarify that they're not like the nocturnal bloodsuckers that continue to entertain and terrify us. I accept that it must be annoying for these people to constantly have to say, okay, well, dude, no, we don't do that. But it's just humor. I don't think anybody genuinely thinks you sacrifice people to, I almost said God, Satan, and dance around in the midnight nude. Now, Mertice said he works to educate people that vampirism is an amalgamation of physical, mental, and spiritual attributes, and vampires are largely productive members of society. Vampirism is often associated with the occult, and fictional vampires are known for engaging in human sacrifice, among other grisly acts. Mertice said for another, human vampire communities welcome members from all religious backgrounds. Mertice says he prefers to keep in the shadows. Plenty of vampire houses, clans, organizations, individuals have carried on quite well without all the hubbub, damn it. And it doesn't really get more interesting from there. I just thought it was kind of cool that a bunch of grown people get together in a house with fake teeth in. And now you know about them too. You're more than welcome to join them, only after you legally subscribe to Dino on YouTube. If you're interested in reading this whole article by yourself, that is the name of it, as I pretty much just skimmed over it and made a bunch of shitty jokes. I do like the idea of a bunch of different clans from different parts of the country, and them all getting together Twilight style. They could have a baseball game. Yeah. That's all from me, guys. Legally, you have to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.